Kia ora. My name's Martin Street and I'm a Senior Communication and Engagement Advisor here at Hamilton City Council. I'd like to welcome you to our Plan Change 9 webinar. Tonight's webinar, we're going to focus on built heritage and it'll be led by Alice Morris, Principal Planner in our City Planning team. But before I pass things over, I did just want to run through a quick few points. The webinar session tonight will take a pretty simple format. We'll start off by looking at Plan Change 9, what it is, what it means and what we've done. We'll then take a deep dive into the built heritage. Following the presentation, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So to do this, I ask that you use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. You can add your question at any stage throughout the presentation, so feel free to put them in. And also just a note, we're not going to be monitoring the chat box, so please do use the Q&A box only. Two other quick points before I pass over to Alice. As this is a public forum, we're not going to be able to answer questions regarding a specific property. So if you do have questions like that, please feel free to reach out via planchange@hcc.govt.nz or join us at some future drop-in sessions or community events that we're currently planning. We hope to have the schedule confirmed in the next week and we'll share that with you. You can, however, ask your question in the chat with your email address, and as we won't be publishing it, we can get back to you that way as well. Finally, if you do want to get in touch with us, we're always available and you can visit hamilton.govt.nz/planchange9 for more information. So now with the housekeeping side of things out of the way, I'm going to pass over to Alice.
Thanks, Martin. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for attending our webinar tonight for Plan Change 9, specifically relating to built heritage. So, I mean, in terms of Plan Change 9, what are we doing and why are we doing it? Under the Resource Management Act, we are required to have policies and rules that help to protect our heritage and natural environments. And we are we have worked through, I should say, the reassessment and review of our current rules relating to heritage and natural environments. And Plan Change 9 will proceed through to propose additions to those current rules and amendments where necessary. So we move to so what does Plan Change 9 specifically cover? Thank you. So Plan Change 9 has 5 matters that we are considering. Built heritage is tonight's topic. Last night we talked about historic heritage areas, and the Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week we will be covering significant natural areas, archaeological sites and notable trees. Our current district plan includes 121 built structures, 5 special character areas and approximately 500 notable trees. We also currently identify 59 significant natural areas and 52 archaeological sites. As we're all aware, heritage is a term to describe areas and sites that we've inherited from our past that tells the story of our past for ourselves and our future generations. It identifies and reflects our values and also assists with the sense of belonging. The built heritage that we've been looking at, isn't as what everyone would consider old. The built heritage assessments have covered the span from the 1800s through to the 1960s. Just in addition, in terms of Plan Change 9, what the natural elements that we've been looking at, as I said, are sites of significant, sites that have notable trees on them, so notable trees and significant natural areas. What is built heritage? The built heritage, sorry, Martin, we've bumped 2 slides. Can we go back? Thank you. No, next one. Yep. Thank you. Sorry about that. So our built heritage that we've been looking through is either individuals or groups of buildings, monuments and structures. They are both public and privately owned. And as I said before, we've currently got 121 structures listed in the district plan. Plan Change 9 has been looking at what else we have. We have, in terms of undertaking a stock take of what the city holds. The last stock take was undertaken in the late 1990s. And through Plan Change 9, what we have done is we initially identified over 500 potential buildings and structures. They were put forward following a review of the information that Council holds on identified buildings and structures from people, for instance, identifying their buildings in the past, articles about buildings, documentation that was prepared for previous district reviews, such as the 2001 review and the 2012 review. We've also gone back to the 1997 Waikato Heritage Study. We've looked at the variations that were done to the 2001 district plan for Hayes Paddock, Temple View and Hamilton East. We've also taken note of the specific submissions that were made to the 2012 district plan review. And we've also since then had a draft thematic heritage study of Hamilton prepared, and we have looked at that as well as the area plan assessment work that's been done in 2021. So all of that then, as I said, produced about a list of 560 potential buildings and structures. We've then worked with our heritage experts from WSP to look at those. They completed desktop assessments of all of those buildings and filtered that down to what we have proposed to list, schedule in our district plan, 182 properties. And those 182 properties, in addition to the desktop assessment and research, also there were field assessments done for all of those buildings. Now, the assessment work has followed the criteria set out under the Waikato Regional Policy Statement, and that aligns also with the assessment that is set out in the methodology in our operative district plan, and to which the existing scheduled built heritage items were assessed by. As it says on the slide, we've assessed those just using those following qualities, which is standard practice. So what's proposed? So on the screen, you will see two maps. So on your left is the map with scattering of red and orange dots. That is the existing district plans heritage items. And what we show on the right-hand side, it's a bit faint, I'm sorry, but the yellow dots in addition to those red and orange dots, and those yellow dots are the 182 proposed buildings and structures. We have been able to expand the extent of the buildings, and as I said, we've now captured a wider range within the outer areas of Hamilton. Of the 182 buildings, approximately 177 are proposed to be B ranked, and 5 are proposed to be A ranked. Now, the ranking is set out in our district plan, and the ranking relates to the significance of the heritage items, the heritage item specifically, and with regards to whether or not it is significant for its heritage values to the local or regional area, or if it's an A-ranked building, it has a higher significance to possibly more national values. Plan Change 9 is also going to identify, beg your pardon, Plan Change 9 in identifying the 182 buildings. We have also re-looked at the objectives, policies and planning provisions. They are being proposed to be being reviewed, and in addition the assessment criteria in Appendix 1.3 has been reviewed as well. We've also looked at clarifying what maintenance and repair means, so there is greater clarity for owners of heritage buildings in terms of how that applies as a permitted activity. And we have also strengthened the earthquake strengthening rules with regards to facades and when you can see the internal strengthening from the exterior of the building. And we've also introduced a reconstruction and reinstatement activity status. All of this is in line with the Resource Management Act, the regional policy statement, and reflects best practice. So what does this mean? I've done a quick summary, but the next slide that we're showing sets out the consents that would be required and what does not require consent. So the clarity on activity status, as I said, has identified whether or not it's permitted or not. It's clear that the rules presently still stand, which relate to the exterior alterations and additions requiring a resource consent, demolition or removal, and works within the site of a built heritage building. In regards to the actual Schedule 8A, where we list the heritage buildings and items, we are also deleting from the existing list, we are deleting items that have been through and obtained a resource consent for either demolition or removal, and that demolition or removal work has been completed or is underway. So they are the buildings only changed to the existing schedule, and then we're adding the 182 buildings to that schedule. Next steps. So we're currently working through a schedule for community events and drop-in sessions, and these will occur in the next 3 weeks prior to notification and during the notification period in July. But first, in next week, end of June, we are taking Plan Change 9 and the Section 32 documents and all the technical documents to Council to seek resolution to notify, and then notification will be at late July. Every landowner who is impacted by Plan Change 9 will receive a notification letter advising them on the notification, the submission period, and how to do a submission. So timeframes, again, I've probably jumped the gun slightly, but presently we are in the pre-notification engagement period. And as I said before, that in late July, we will be doing our notification. Formal submission period will take 20 working days, and as per the requirements of the Resource Management Act, and that should close around about mid-August. We anticipate having the hearings for Plan Change 9 in the first quarter of 2023. So Martin, I think that moves us to questions.
It does. Thank you, Alice. So we've had a few questions coming in, so I'll kick off. But before I do, I just wanted to introduce Catherine Hugh. So Kath is an intermediate planner here at City Council, and she's played an integral role in the work to date. So she's joining Alice to help answer any questions. So if Kath pops up, please just know who she is. So we'll kick off here, Alice. The first one we've got is, are there any new proposed monuments or structures, non-buildings, that have been added?
Yes, there are. There are approximately 5. So what is proposed, if I can quickly run through those. So we have the Anglesey Wall. We are proposing the Hamilton East Clock. We're proposing Innes Arch and the Sundial in Garden Place. And there is Swarbrick Arch as well. And a plaque that is in remembrance of Te Rapa Pa in Park Terrace.
Yeah. Next one here is, do the existing schedule items remain, or are they being replaced by the new scheduled items?
No, they are being retained. There have been no changes or reassessments of those items that are presently in the district plan. What Plan Change 9 is doing is adding to that schedule. As I said before, the only change to the existing scheduled list is the fact of we are removing those items that have already been consented for demolition and are demolished or in the process of being demolished.
Great. So we've got one here. Is the list of the additional 560 proposed initial properties or structures, is that available, or will it be made available along with the individual assessments?
There wasn't the intention to do that because that was a filtering process in terms of us being able to distill down. The landowners of those buildings, we have been engaging with those buildings over the last 12-month period in terms of the different stages. There weren't individual inventories done for those buildings. It was a desktop assessment.
Thanks, Alice. So are any interiors proposed, noting Hamilton has very few and many have already been lost?
No, we are not proposing to introduce the protection of any interiors.
Brilliant. Okay, so has the Waikato Regional Council provided any items that are of regional significance?
No, they have not specifically.
Have all properties that have been recommended as either plan ranking A or B been included in the final list of built heritage properties in Plan Change 9?
Yes, they have. Yes.
So looking at the 182 properties now, is the list of those a complete list available?
It will be once we have taken the report to Council seeking resolution next week. It will be listed on our website. But I can say that all landowners of those 182 have been contacted by Hamilton City Council.
Brilliant. And I'll just chuck in there with those 182, there are those individual reports, and they can contact through the Plan Change website if they're wanting to get hold of those. So next question here is, the proposed map shows an absence of identified heritage around the outer perimeter, yet these areas that have belonged to old boroughs that came into Hamilton, like old farms, have these been considered?
Yes, we did consider the fabric of the borough and the farming fabric that surrounded the city. In looking for the old farmhouses, for instance, they were very hard to find and had been highly modified. That's not to say that through Plan Change 9, if there's submissions people wish to make with regards to buildings that they feel should be scheduled, we welcome the ability to look at additional buildings.
Sorry, I was on mute there. What weighting, if at all, was given to the practicability long-term planning of having only 1 or 2 properties listed as built heritage in zoning areas that are proposed to be high residential as part of Plan Change 12?
So I think I'll pass that. Oh, I'm going to pass that to Catherine with regards to her work that she's doing with in terms of intensification. Catherine.
Yes, thank you, Alice. So yes, I will take these questions. So as Alice mentioned earlier, Plan Change 9, the purpose of that is identification of the built heritage in this case, and also along the other 4 items that included in Plan Change 9. We are not changing any underlying zoning as part of Plan Change 9. Any things that relates to council's response to the recent central government requirement of the Enabling Housing Act or the NPSUD requirements, those will be addressed in a different plan change called Plan Change 12. Council will release more information regarding Plan Change 12 in the near future.
Thank you, Kath, and welcome. If a house has been made heritage, in what circumstances can it be demolished?
The demolition of heritage buildings has to go through a resource consent. The sense of protection in the district plan is key with regards to the retention. However, through a resource consent and analysis of why that building wishes to, the owner wishes that to be demolished would have to be assessed at that point in time. The district plan strongly is on the side of retention, but it is not prohibited for a demolition to occur.
Thanks, Alice. Is there a commitment to assessing and possibly scheduling nominated properties through the submission period of PC9?
Yes, people can make submissions on additional properties. We would be anticipating that if someone makes a submission seeking additional buildings, that they also provide the analysis of why those buildings are proposed to be protected, rather than just a list of buildings.
It's quite. Can I do inside renovations without a resource consent?
Oh, definitely. So the key thing is that the protection of heritage is ensuring that it's still alive. So that is one of the reasons why the district plan doesn't protect internals, so that the sustainability of that resource as a house or a community, the building, or say a business can continue to occur in modern day, whilst retaining the heritage fabric of that building as well.
So can you just talk a little bit here, there's a couple of questions around how the inspections were done. So if someone didn't give their permission to come on site and do an inspection, how were the physical assessment or visual assessments completed?
Sure. So the majority of the field work was done from public realms, so footpath, park, not on the private property. However, we did require require to go on to some sites, and we contacted landowners for the access to that. If we hadn't heard from those landowners or couldn't get back in contact with them, the consultant on the day was doing door knocking in terms of being, introducing themselves on site. But we did do a full consultation process engagement to ensure that we had contacted landowners to know that we were even just on the footpath looking at their buildings.
Thanks, Alice. Sorry, thanks, Alice. If someone disagrees with the assessment, what can they do?
Oh, simply there's a process once notification has occurred in late July for them to make a formal submission. And again, the formal submission process under the Resource Management Act, there is a sort of expectation that the people will provide detail of why. The full assessment of their individual buildings through the inventory work will be available, and that's what we're making available to landowners presently as well. So up to this point, up to notification, I should say, the list that we have of the 182 stands, and that's what will be notified, and then people can make formal submission following notification.
Thanks, Alice. So if the removal of a building is to be undertaken, would it have a better chance of getting a resource consent if that building is relocated within the city versus elsewhere in the region?
Well, that's a very good question, particularly that the nature of assessing a building is its setting and its relationship to its setting and its so for instance, its relationship to Hamilton. So if it was relocated within Hamilton, it's still got that relationship. If it's relocated outside of Hamilton, it loses that relationship. However, relocation does require a resource consent. And as I said about demolition, all of those matters would be assessed on a case-by-case basis at that time.
Thanks, Alice. So as many of the historic houses are 1 story and a number in proposed intensification to 4 to 6 stories, how is the setting and context protected? And will there be a policy that protects setting and impact of high-rise development?
Yep, so I probably would jump in and answer this one. So again, the purpose, the scope of the Plan Change 9 is very well defined. It is the identification and protections of these buildings. And then because we are not changing the underlying zoning, and then we do have a different, a separate plan change, I say, to address the consideration of the intensification requirement driven by the central government. So those details of how we respond to the requirement from the central government, and then also in the meantime accommodate the heritage value of these buildings will be addressed in the separate plan change called Plan Change 12, and then in that plan change we will provide more detail of how we provide that assessment and what consideration that we taken, and then bear in mind that we also limited by the legislation required for intensification. So I would encourage you to also attend our webinar for the Plan Change 12, and then ask the similar or the same questions, and at that point we can provide you more direct answer to that.
Thanks, Kath. So if someone feels the assessment report is wrong, will council look to remove that building from the notified version of Plan Change 9?
So that person or whoever would require to make a submission to Plan Change 9 following notification. We are not removing any from the proposed list prior to notification. And as I said, through the submission process, they would need to provide the justification of why it should be removed off the list for scheduling.
Thanks. So back to, there was an earlier question around interiors. So someone's pointed here that council has a number of heritage buildings held for the community. And the interiors of these, such as St. Peter's Hall or Railway Institute Hall, would we ever consider looking at protecting the interior of these, as they wouldn't have impact on the public?
Well, that's actually a good question, and that is one that, if a submission is made, we would investigate further. There is merit in considering that with regards to public buildings that are of a community use. However, the users and owners of those buildings would have to participate in that process as well. But it's not something that we would not consider.
Awesome. So look, we've got one more question. So I'm just putting that out there now. So if anyone else has any questions, now's probably the time to put them in that Q&A box. But while we wait for that, is the Hamilton Heritage Fund available for proposed buildings?
Sadly, no. The fund has a specific criteria and guideline, and that is for buildings that have been through the full process and are operative in the district plan. So that means that this present round that we are presently calling for applications to the fund for the 22-23 funding year, no, they won't be. However, what is retained through the submission process and the hearing process, if they're operative by the following funding round, which will be 23-24, they would be eligible, as long as they were privately owned and not public buildings.
Cool. Sticking with the fund, is the fund expanded in annual value considering the increase in built heritage?
So that is a question that was asked and discussed briefly at the the District Plan Committee meeting in last week, and staff have indicated that we will be having a look at that and taking a report back to council. If we expand the number of buildings, definitely the present 80,000, needs to be revisited.
Thanks, Alice. There is actually one question which I'll jump in and answer here. And so it's a Plan Change 12 question, and it's just asking if there'll be further webinars specifically regarding Plan Change 12, as nothing is showing on the website yet. The answer to this is yes, they will be next week, and we will be updating the website very soon. So now I'm coming back to Alice and Kath. How is it that we've decided to make, to propose built heritage status on something when it's not listed as heritage and according to Heritage New Zealand?
So councils are required under the Resource Management Act to protect the heritage fabric of its city or district. In terms of that, we do that through scheduling in the district plan. The listing by Heritage New Zealand Poatonga is with regards to their process, and it's listing for recognition, whilst they rely on the district plan scheduling for the extent of protection rules that the Resource Management Act affords through the district plan. We follow the guidelines by Heritage New Zealand and the Act, RMA, and the regional policy statement with regards to how we determine the significance of heritage and what the criteria are.
Thank you. So look, that looks like all of the questions that have come in. So I just want to wrap this up. So we are looking at doing some future events, public face-to-face events, and we will be getting that schedule out shortly. So that'll be things like the farmers markets, drop-in sessions at the various websites throughout Hamilton, and also here at Hamilton City Council buildings in the central city. We will be saving this video down from this evening's webinar to the Plan Change website. You'll be able to watch it there along with all the other webinars. So last night's Historic Heritage Area webinar and the future ones from next week. We'll also update the website FAQs based on the questions that we've been asked tonight and every other night that we're doing this. So look, I just again want to say thank you, Alice, Kath, for coming along and being part of the webinar, and of course to everyone who's attended and asked questions tonight. Again, I just want to stress that we're here to answer and to support you, so please do reach out via planchange@hcc.govt.nz or hcc.govt.nz/planchange9, where you'll be able to find all the information and the contact details for the various team members. So please have a safe and enjoyable long weekend, and come along next week when we'll be discussing S&As on Monday, archaeological notable trees on Tuesday and archaeological sites on Wednesday. So thank you very much, everyone. Take care.